that I'm at an all-time.
All right, everybody. Welcome to episode number
Six.
We're 6 episodes deep.
That's right, man.
This is episode number 6, All in a Day's Work. I'm Anthony.
I'm Lucas.
Today's episode is gonna be raw.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little bit different. I just want to forewarn you that this might touch a sensitive topic, a sensitive subject for some of you guys. So just be forewarned about this. Today we're definitely going to be talking about race and what's going on today in 2020.
Absolutely, and this is something that definitely needs to be talked about. We need to have this conversation. This is an issue that definitely needs to be addressed and fixed in our country.
Absolutely. We're going to have the uncomfortable conversation. But this is what podcast is all about.
Yep.
We spoke with you guys in the very first episode. We said our podcast is supposed to be raw, unfiltered, not scripted, and this is what this is about.
Yep.
We're going to voice our opinions based on what we see today, also about how we were brought up, what we believe to be true as being a good American here in society.
Absolutely.
So, just bear with us. If this does touch a subject or a topic that is kind of heavy for you, hit us in the comments.
Yep.
We'd love to speak with you about it. We have plenty of outsource programs out there that we can touch base with you with or put you in touch with if it does touch a sore subject. But 2020 has been fucked up, and
absolutely.
Everything that can go wrong seems to be going wrong.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do this podcast, one, to show you as the audience, as the viewer, that you can come from 2 different backgrounds,
Like we have.
2 different races,
Like we are.
and still be close friends.
Yep.
You can disagree and still be friends.
Yeah. And like you said, we come from 2 different backgrounds. We're 2 different races. We have 2 different perspectives about how things are going right now. 2 different opinions. But at the end of the day, what matters is coming together, having a civil conversation, not attacking somebody based on their, opinion or whatever, and just get our points across and maybe come to some kind of understanding.
Absolutely. There's things about you that I may not understand fully. I've known you for a few years.
Yeah.
There's things about me you might not understand fully. And that's what these uncomfortable conversations are about. Emmanuel Acho, he has his own podcast. It's called Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man. I think I put you on on game with that. And a lot of that, what he's talking about, is literally what we're talking about today. Ours is just filtered more towards the veteran community.
Yeah.
So it's easier for us to reach out to them, for one, who you don't get a choice but to live, bunk with, and serve with the person next to you, regardless of whether they're black, white, Asian, Muslim, wherever they come from. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
At the end of the day, y'all wear green, and we're all shooting downrange.
Yep. Yeah. And
we have one common goal.
And that's what I think helped me, as far as, I was raised up to treat everybody a certain way, right? To give everybody the benefit of the doubt, to treat them how a human is supposed to be treated, to treat them how I would want to be treated, right? And the military kind of reinforced that, when you're in there, you don't see color, you don't see religion, you don't see any of that stuff. You see green, and then you see red for the enemy, and that's what you do. You move forward from there.
You got to think too that we have one common goal, and that's to destroy the enemy.
Yep. To achieve the mission.
Accomplish the mission.
Yep.
Right. And we're all soldiers. From the private to the goddamn general.
Yep.
We're all soldiers fighting to accomplish the mission, whatever that mission is. My mission right now is to try to combat the race issue that we have here in America.
Yeah.
2020. Would you believe it's 2020? It's September.
I know this year's almost.
It is September.
I tell you what, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Fun, God, this has been interesting nonetheless. I wouldn't necessarily say fun. It's definitely been interesting, but
it just started off with a bang, didn't it? So
2020 has been the oddest year.
I'm telling you, 2020 is
my entire life.
It's going to be its own swear word before this is over. I tell you what,
it really is.
Oh,
you shit! That's that 2020.
yeah.
I mean, I served 2 tours in Afghanistan, man, and even with the bullshit that I went through on both of my tours, never once felt the way I feel today.
Tell me about it, man. It's starting to come into your mind, like what should I do? Should I go out of my way? Should I act a little bit different with everything that's going on? And it's
I'm glad you just said that. I'm glad you said that with because we're talking about race. We brought up race, before we started recording and whatnot. Let me ask you this. This is kind of off, do you feel that right now with everything going on, you kind of have to act different around other minority groups or different people?
Yeah, it's I find myself thinking about it more so now. Like I think about the stuff that I wear a little bit more.
Around me?
No, not necessarily around you, just out in public. When
I was about to say, you wear some busted ass clothes. Nah, I got you.
No, it's I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm a Trump supporter, right? So, and I firmly believe that he's the best choice for our president.
I mean, Sleepy Joe can't even remember his goddamn name half the time.
That's very true.
So I was gonna point that out there. I don't want to talk about politics.
No.
However, Joe Biden.
So the point I was just trying to make, I'm a police supporter, right? Do I agree with every decision every police officer makes? No. Do I believe that they are the line of defense between us and mob rule, gang rule? Yes. So I find myself just cautious about my support for these when I'm out in public by myself, right? I find myself a little cautious depending on where I go, right? Just for the simple fact that 2020, just to be honest with you, 2020 is not a good year for being a straight white male.
No, it's not. It's not a good year to be anybody, really. I mean,
well, that's facts.
I'm putting it like this: if you are black or white, it is not a good year for you.
Yeah, and I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago we were talking about Mexicans and detainees and people coming from, or ISIS and Muslims, Somalis. 2020 has literally been black and white, and everything in between has just been fucked up.
Yep, and
COVID damn sure fucked everything up.
Yeah, I think the reaction to COVID fucked everything up.
That's a good point.
The
reaction to COVID.
Yeah.
You said that right. But with that, so you're a little bit more cautious. Do you find yourself holding back some of the things that you want to say as far as opinions are based, around certain people or conversations with other people, or something like that? Do you hold your tongue more now, just based on maybe because they're talking about how they feel, and you don't want to feel as, well, I'm the odd man out now, so I don't really want to voice my opinion, or
it's funny that you say that because I don't really talk to a lot of people, outside of work. So in that regards, I don't really talk to a lot of people about my personal opinions, for the simple fact that they are personal outside of you. And now you, America.
It's not very personal anymore.
It's not very personal anymore.
Once it's on the internet, it's there forever.
I know that. And I'm trying to not so much be very cautious with what I say, but to just try to come off truthful in what I say.
Well, we have this thing, called freedom of speech.
Absolutely, and in today's society, people will get bludgeoned and beat over their freedom of speech.
Well, I don't think it's based on their freedom of speech, but it's based on your freedom of speech. Your opinion doesn't match mine, and I'm going to kick your ass because you don't feel the way I do.
And that's very true, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the whole point of a freedom of speech democracy is for us to have these conversations, for us to say, hey, this is my opinion, this is what I think, what do you think? let's come together. Let's try to figure out a solution that works best for everybody.
You hit the nail on the head. What's the key word there? Solution.
Solution. Everybody's always putting out all these, oh, well, this is fucked up. Oh, well, this is fucked up. Oh, this is wrong. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. Okay, then what's the solution? Yeah. Right? Just the same thing with certain people in our elected officials say, oh, defund the police. Okay, well, I will understand. I understand why you're saying that with everything that's going on right now. But what is your solution? What's your backup? How are you going to supplement law and order without the police? Like, what are you going to do? Right?
I mean, when you talk about defunding the police, and that's a big one that's been going around. Hell, Seattle just passed that bullshit.
Yeah, no.
And I don't understand it. Like, what are you going to do with less police? You can't hold the city that you have now with the police you got. Oh, yeah. What are you going to do with 50% less?
I know. And if you just want an example of that, look at New York, look at Chicago, look at Portland, for example, where they're going on almost 100 days of riots and the police hands are tied. But anyway, we're not going to touch that subject.
They pushed the feds out because they
Yeah.
didn't want the feds help because they got it, right? They got it.
Yeah.
All right,
they really got it.
All right, Portland, if you're listening, y'all need to figure your shit out.
Yeah, but that's not the subject that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about black and white and race relations, right? So you asked me, like, how I feel. Do I find myself being more cautious now? You as a black man, how do you feel in today's society?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, today's society today is not much different than it's been for me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had to, first of all, I was brought up to believe a certain type of way about a certain type of people.
Mm-hmm. And do you mind sharing what that?
So not to say that all white people are bad, because I disagree with that. Okay, I was brought up to be cautious around the white person. Okay. Regardless, I mean, my grandparents came through the civil rights movement. Okay, and they took a very, very heavy toll on raising me. All right, so for me, yeah, I'm listening to the stories of my grandparents, my mother, what I know of my father, growing up in this country, who have battled and had to deal with race relations since they were born. And for me to still go through that today, you know what I'm saying? It makes me think, was what they were saying is true? Did they view it as hey, this is just a matter of time type situation? You're going to see eventually what we're talking about. You know, all of that can be said here in 2020. However, I was never brought up to believe that all white people are racist. So when you say, how do I feel, what am I doing today that's different or whatnot, I don't see myself acting different towards white people or you know, black people in general, people I like and hang out with regardless. I can tell you this much. I have always been myself. However, I do notice things when I'm in around a certain group of people, whether that's an all white crowd or a black crowd or a mixed crowd, you know, I see how the vibe is different depending on which type of person I'm speaking to. And does that make sense?
That does make sense. And do you think that's just simply because of the different races, or do you see that's just
I think race has a lot to do with it, but I think race in 2020 has a lot more to do with it.
I agree with that.
With the division of everything that's going around today. You know what I mean? I serve with people I would have never thought were racist, and I'm finding out are more closet racist. Or maybe I'm just seeing it that way.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I understand.
So, for me, I would say I don't act different towards a certain group of people depending on what their race is. However, I am cautious of what I may or may not say because I don't know what's going to happen. For instance, white boy from South Carolina.
I know.
Right?
That doesn't look good for me, man.
Yeah, the people like your accent, so it's all right. It's not a good time for y'all right now.
No.
You know? So, for you, since the moment I met you, I've never once felt that I had to be cautious around you.
I'm glad for that. I really am.
Okay? So, I'll put that point blank out there. I never felt cautious around you. But there are times when, and I don't know, maybe it's just if I'm around a group of strangers in general, but I'm a pretty personable person, so I can talk to any group of people no matter where they are, where they're from, who they live, whatever. You know what I mean? So, but I have noticed that there is more tension today than there has been in a very long time.
Well, with everything going on, that's perfectly understandable.
With that being said, you know, hell, I was in Safeway the other day and I seen this guy. I was, you know, putting my groceries in my car, and this guy came out. He's talking really obnoxiously on the phone. White dude, you know, drives an F-350, big, you know, whatever, little dick syndrome. I mean, white guy. And anyways, and so he comes out, and one of the conversations I noticed he got louder and louder as he was approaching me, getting closer to me. Now maybe I'm just overthinking this. It's possible I'm overthinking this. However, the thing that stuck with me was what he said as soon as he got in front of me. He was like, "Oh yeah, you know, white lives matter. Yeah, white lives matter too." And I was like, "All right, motherfucker, like, you was talking, you know, pretty quiet over there, but all of a sudden you get close to me, and all of a sudden you had to emphasize white lives matter too." Okay, brother, whatever. You know, I looked at him, gave him the head nod, and he went on about his day. I went on about my day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, was that necessary? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
You see, what do you think? Was that necessary? Or I don't know what to think about that. It could be in my head, but
I mean,
you know, it seemed pretty obvious what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
He was trying to stick a nerve or trying to get something out of me, a reaction out of me. But you know what? I'm with my kids and stuff like that. I'm not going to go out of character to satisfy whatever it is you're trying to come across.
You see, as far as I wasn't there, so I can only take, you know, your word for it, but from the sounds of it, does sounds like that was obnoxious and uncalled for, right? Like, I don't care who you are, what your personal opinion is, unless somebody asks for it, don't give it, right? Keep that to yourself. I don't think that anybody should go up to a stranger and try and yell certain things at them to try to elicit a reaction.
I mean, but that's exactly what you see today with all the riots and protests today.
Absolutely.
You're seeing people who are strangers going up to others to try to voice their opinion. However, if your opinion disagrees with mine, you're a bad person.
And that's completely wrong, right?
That defeats the purpose of having an opinion.
Well, yeah, but it's also your First Amendment right. You have that right to voice your opinion, but just because you want to voice your opinion to somebody else doesn't mean that they have to listen to it or that they're a bad person for not wanting to hear it, right? If you're approaching a couple sitting in a restaurant and you just want to voice your opinion to them, that's completely wrong, right? You can voice your opinion, but don't harass somebody that's just trying to go about their business, go about their day, just so you can try to get your point across.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, with the society that we have today, everybody's trying to get those views, right?
Yeah.
So
and that's go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you Facebook Live your interaction with somebody, trying to get those views up and stuff like that. People you're trolling.
Yeah, and it's the same. In my opinion, it's the same way with the media. That's why they always try and push all this hatred, this what's the word I'm trying to look, all these bad news, right? So they can try and get their views up, so they can try and become more important.
Well, bad news makes good news, right? Or bad news gets more viewers.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and
it just confirms the bias that people have.
I agree.
It either confirms or denies the bias that normal people have, right? But all you see on the media, on Facebook, on whatever social media platform you have, is bad news.
Yeah.
How much positive stuff are you seeing today?
Not very much. Even like, because I don't follow everybody on my Facebook or my social medias, right? I just follow certain pages, and even that is negative, right? And sometimes, like, you just got to cut yourself off from that. Yeah, it's better for your mental health.
I find it harder and harder to see more positive things online or just even on TV.
Yeah.
As you know, in general, it's just harder and harder to find positive news because
and that's unfortunate.
And I mean, there is a lot of fucked up shit going on right now with today. So it's kind of hard to be like, well, where is the positive? Where are the positive stories? Because there's not very much positive shit going on right now. Like,
unfortunately,
I can't really think of very much that's going on that's positive.
Yeah, that's true. So as far as going back to media bias, do you think that they're really trying to push certain narratives?
The media has been doing that since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They always say the media can influence and decide an election.
They can do more than that.
With the exception of Hillary, because they said Hillary was going to win, and that shit didn't happen, so...
And then all the Trump supporters came home from work.
It's true. That's very true. I can't even disagree with that one right there, because I can't fuck with Hillary.
So, I mean, as far as bias is concerned, going away from the media, do you think certain people hold unconscious bias towards other people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that goes into being how you were brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Me being cautious as a black person around a group of white people is a subconscious thing that happens. I don't think about I need to be or act a certain way or have this fear or whatever when I'm around a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
If you invited me to a family function of yours I'm around a bunch of strangers, for one, they're strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Two, they're white and they're in a place that is unknown or foreign to me. Okay? I'm not going to go into that situation thinking, well, I need to think this about these people because they're white.
Mm-hmm.
But subconsciously, there are going to be those one and two things I might pick up on
mm-hmm.
that are going to make me either more held back or just maybe a little bit more eccentric to try to counter that. Does that make sense? Just being how I was raised to
mm-hmm.
believe. And I'll be like this. My grandparents told me, because they come from a completely different time, they told me that you cannot trust white people.
Mm-hmm.
And in my head, I was like, well, that's pretty stupid for you to say. How can you say that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is the earlier 90s and things like that. But how can you say that about white people? Because in my experience with white people, especially as a young kid, the white people that I'm around, they're not bad. Mm-hmm. They're just kids. They're just people. You know what I mean? So I never had to witness it. It was until I got older
mm-hmm.
and started to realize more of what was going on and starting to pick up on some of the cues and things like that. So subconsciously, yes. However, consciously, I don't think that people, unless they are an adamant racist or a extremist group, go into a situation thinking that it's going to be a negative interaction or a racist interaction, mm-hmm. or I have to feel or act a type of way around these people. It's based on some of the give and some of the take that they get from that group of people that make them feel a certain way that will spark or trigger that unconscious bias or agenda. Does that make sense to you? Kind of like PTSD. There are certain things that might trigger you as a veteran that you don't actively think about on a day-to-day basis. However, a loud pop out of nowhere might make you think or flash back to a specific moment in time where the worst was about to happen. You don't think about that daily, but that one thing opened up that subconscious memory that makes you feel a certain type of way, which has a hold on your whole body.
Understandable. And just from my experience, my background, my own thought process on this, I cannot fundamentally agree with an unconscious bias, right? Because I believe that I am in control of my own actions. I believe everybody is. I believe that we choose to act on our emotions. We choose to act on our feelings, our thoughts. And you can either choose to act on that, or you can choose to hold that back or do whatever you want to with it, right? So in my situation, how I was raised, if I'm going into a situation with a bunch of people that I don't know, right, I'm not going to simply outright judge them because of certain things that I may or may not know about them, right? I'm going to go into that. I'm going to be the best person I can be in that. And I think that's, putting the best foot forward, but I'm not going to go into and not necessarily change who I am as a person, because I truly believe
that's how we should be as a people, trying to be
the
best person we can be all the time.
Yes.
Right? However, I just want to add to what you were saying is that I know you may not fully grasp that, but the subconscious thing is not in your control. All right? You are not 100% control in all of the thoughts that you have, but you are in control of the actions that you take.
And that's exactly why I cannot fundamentally get behind it. I cannot believe that I am not in control of everything that goes on in my life, right? Because that in my mind that turns me into a victim of my own circumstance.
But you can't be a victim of your own circumstance.
I cannot believe that, because I, as a person, am in control of my entire life. I choose how. Now, granted, there are things that may happen in my life that I cannot control, but at the end of the day, I am in control and am responsible of everything that goes on in my life.
I will say this. I believe people are in control of their own actions, but they are not in control of their emotions. There are certain things that may come up that we talk about that might trigger a certain emotion that might make you feel a type of way, and you have to think to yourself for a moment, how am I going to respond to this situation? No different than me talking about a relationship, which can get heavy at certain times.
Absolutely.
Which might make you or me feel a type of way.
Yes, but right? and that is my point. When you first get that flood of emotions, you may not be able to control the flood of emotions that you get or the flood of thoughts that you get, but you choose how you act on those things.
Some emotions are stronger for some people, and some people are more vulnerable to their emotions than others.
And I agree with that.
There are scientific facts that have proven this to be true.
Not
everybody thinks the way Lucas thinks.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
So just because you think a certain way based on the action to be the best person that you can be, other people might not have that ability.
And that's another point.
This is why mental health science is so important.
I agree, and this is my point. This is my opinion. This is my experiences. Right? Everybody has their own opinion, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I believe that I am in control, right? If I get, like, I've had some bad relationships in the past, I've had some bad crap happen to me, whatever the case may be, but whatever happens in that moment, I am responsible and for that action that I take.
So you want to be the best person that you can be at all times, right?
As everyone should.
You want to go to Hawaii?
No.
Why not?
Because fuck that place.
Why? You ever been there?
No. And I will never go.
Why don't you want to go to Hawaii?
Because I've had some bad stuff happen to me and I don't want to go there.
Okay, but did it have to do with Hawaii per se, or a certain individual who happened to be from there?
I've never been to Hawaii, so.
Okay. So, why don't you want to go to Hawaii?
Because fuck that place.
That's not a good answer.
That's my answer.
All right. I won't press it anymore. I can see it's tickling a nerve there.
So again, that flood of emotions can come in, but I choose how I respond to that. Am I perfect? No. Am I going to react negatively to certain things? Yes. Right? But at the end of the day, I am responsible for that. Right?
See, the thing with the emotions is some emotions are so heavy that you cannot control how they make you feel, right? You cannot control what happens after that. For a split moment, there's sometimes they take over, and then you have to really hone yourself in as a person and think about, yo, am I overreacting? Am I thinking a certain type of way, or or whatever it is? But you have to realize, and this is also my opinion, that certain emotions can have an effect and a toll on your body, and they can take control of your mind, your conscious mind. So that's why when you say you are in control of your conscious mind and what you want to be true, and how you want to react to a certain situation, yeah, that might be true. However, certain emotions can take over that for a time being. And there are studies that prove this. Emotions can take over. It may not be forever, but not everybody's the same. Not everybody's mind works the same.
I agree with that. Everybody's different.
There are certain things that I battle through with depression and anxiety, right? But some of which is sustained from my combat deployment, especially my first one, right? However, there are also other things that has to do with just life in general, with me being in the military or out of the military, and in my personal life, being with my kids, going through a divorce, being without my kids, how I'm interacting and reacting with people, and things like that, right? Not a lot of which is in my control because of how I feel about a certain type of thing or situation. But then there's medication for that I have to take that kind of keeps me, what do I say, docile. Is that the best way to put that? So when those emotions come up, I'm all right, whatever. It's more of a kind of feeling. I'm not going to overreact or overthink a situation. You know what I mean? So when we want to talk about how emotions or how you were brought up or the unconscious mind works as opposed to your conscious mind in regards to race relations, you know what I mean? As minority people, people of color. I cannot speak on your behalf, but I can say for the majority of people of color, we have this thing called the talk. Are you familiar with the talk?
The only talk I know of is when parents sit you down and talk about the birds and the bees. That's the only talk I know about.
Exactly my point. As a person of color, we have two talks. One of which is, yes, the birds and the bees. Everybody has to have those talks. But as a person of color, I know, and I'm sure a lot of people that are viewing this, that are minorities, can also say that they have been a part of the talk. And by the talk, you know what I'm talking about.
I have a feeling I know what you're talking about.
The talk is about race relations, okay? How you are going to be viewed, how you are going to react when people act differently towards you based on the color of your skin or your race, religion, or creed. Okay? These are talks that I know I had multiple times with my grandparents. I've had with my mother. I've had with my auntie. And I've had with my own sister. And that I'm also going to continue to have with my kids who are mixed kids. Going into this society that we have today. It's important for people of color to have that talk. Okay? So, for me, that talk starts at a young age. About 10 years old, maybe. Maybe younger than that in some instances. Okay? That talk is very vital and important to people of color. And I don't want you to feel singled out as a white person. Okay? But the main topic of that talk is relations with yourself as a person of color and white people. Okay? Myself as a person of color and white people. Now, the talk varies from family to family, race to race, situation to situation, based on how my grandparents were brought up, how my mother was brought up, and of course they were at a different time. But the time that they're going through is not very much different than what we're witnessing here in 2020. Or I should say more or less, the 2010s through the 2020. Okay? Not very much has changed. We forget that America is a young country.
It really is. It really is.
A very young country. One, we're still learning as a country. However, we are the most powerful and strongest nation there is on this planet.
I agree with that.
Okay? So everybody's looking at us. What the fuck is America doing? How are they going to react to this or that? Right? And because of that, we have to put on, I'm going to say it, America, we put on a front to show that we're Billy motherfucking badass all the time. One of which because we're fucking America.
Fuck yeah.
Number two is because we have to put that front on and show that, look, fake it till you make it. Right? Sometimes you gotta fake it till you motherfucking make it. With that being said, the talk, going back to it, the talk that we have at such a young age that gets instilled in us, we will never forget. Okay? That may not be part of my conscious bias and what I'm thinking about day in and day out. But when there are certain situations that come up when it's a race-related issue, that subconscious, those images, those talks, those conversations, they start to come forward. Being a black kid, speaking with my black grandparents about race relations and what to look out for in the future, if you think this conversation is uncomfortable, imagine the conversation as a young kid talking to black parents, or black grandparents, that is, who went through the civil rights movement. My grandfather at one point marched with Dr. King. Okay? So imagine how that conversation is uncomfortable when I'm a 10-year-old kid playing with the white kids who I just don't see race. I'm just trying to play baseball in the field or basketball. Ride bikes and scrape our knees and stuff. I'm not thinking about race. So when I'm thinking at a young age, granddaddy, everything you saying is bullshit. You just full of shit, old head, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then I see 2020. I'm like, yo, Papa was all, Papa knew what the fuck he was talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's something that, we as a minority group or people of color do go through. It's a very common thing. You can ask almost any person of color if they've ever been through the talk with their family, their parents, or whatnot. I guarantee they will tell you that they have been through the talk. Mm-hmm. So my question to you, I want to ask, but talking about that, is there anything similar to that you had growing up? The talk about as far as race is concerned.
Yeah. So I never had anything like the talk in regards to race, right? I grew up Southern boy, small town. I grew up in church majority of my high school career. So I from the time I was 14 or 15, I was kind of a troublemaker. My mom got me.
Most teenagers are.
Yeah. My mom, she got me into church, and that's where I really kind of developed my belief system and my values. Right, I was taught from that age to treat everybody as I would want to be treated. Right, to treat everybody, give everybody the benefit of the doubt, to try to give everybody the respect that I would like. Right. So when I talk, this is where I'm coming from, to treat everybody how I would want to be treated. But there are certain things that I look out for, right? Just from stuff that I know, stuff that I've seen, stuff that I don't want to be around, stuff that I like, people that I like, people that I want to be around, right? And I think that is my conscious bias. Right. So if I go into a neighborhood and I see certain people out there, I'm gonna try to avoid that simply because I don't want to get caught up in any sort of situation that I don't want to be in. Right. This is where I come from. But I never had anything like that.
So you can't recall a time or a moment when your grandparents, your mother, your father, anybody kind of sat you down and be like, hey, look, man. This is what some people think about us. You should choose to act differently.
No,
nothing like that.
No, I was told always to try to put my best foot forward, treat people how people should be treated, and then just go from there.
I want to ask you this, and this might strike a nerve. Do you think, as a white person, because I don't think the talk from people of color. Mm-hmm. I don't think that talk is ever going to go away. Do you think that it's important for white people to have a similar conversation with their kids about race?
If I could offer advice, I don't have kids, right? So I won't be having any sort of conversations with my kids anytime soon. If I could put that forward, I would say treat your kids to not see color. Not to see religion, not to see race, not to see any of that.
See people as people. See
people as people, right. I try not to judge people, but it does happen. And when I do, unfortunately, judge people, it's not because of race. It's because of how they act, how they choose, how they speak, and those variables. There are certain people that I just don't want to be around simply because of how they act, right? And I think that we as a people, we need to come together and not see race and start seeing values. Like you should start looking at people for how they value what are their values, what do they want out of life, and Absolutely. So on and so forth, and then come together like that, right? America, in my personal opinion and my belief, was founded on a certain set of principles, right? And I think we need to get back to that.
That every man should be created and treated equal.
Absolutely, and they are, in my opinion, right? Everybody, there's nobody that's more valuable than anybody else. It doesn't matter if you come from money, if you come from poverty, if you are homeless or not. You are just as valuable as the next person. I believe that you should treat the janitor just like you would the CEO.
The value, yes, you should be valued as such. Yeah. But people are not treated that way.
Unfortunately, they're not.
You cannot tell me that people are treated the same.
Unfortunately, they're not, and that goes across the board with every race.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that black people are treated worse in a specific area or field of work or whatnot than others. It does happen.
Unfortunately, it does.
I'm not. You can't tell me that it doesn't.
I'm not that stupid or blind to see that it doesn't happen. I know that it happens, but the same. I just want to clarify that the same could be happening both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not specific to one race.
And I agree. Which, America, understand that this is our conversation. We want to open this up to you to have your own conversations.
Absolutely.
These uncomfortable
Absolutely.
conversations.
Yep.
Because the only way that I feel that we can combat racism and move forward, one, we do have to talk about it, but at some point we're going to have to stop.
I completely agree with it.
We have to teach our children, ourselves, we have to learn as a people that we need to stop seeing color.
I agree.
The police need to stop seeing color. The judge needs to stop seeing color. People that work at the convenience store need to stop seeing color. People in big business need to stop seeing color. In sports, they need to stop seeing color. I would be naive to say that companies, sports, all of these things that we like don't see color. It's there. It's apparent. It's obvious. People see it. They don't want to admit that they see it, but it's there.
You see, I don't agree with that, but we'll leave that for another podcast. I know, but we do want to open this up to you guys. If you guys have any certain experiences that made you feel a certain way, comment below. Let us have this conversation. The whole goal here is to come together and have a civil conversation to where each side can come have some sort of understanding as far as the other side, because we are all individuals. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different experiences.
However, we're all Americans. Unless you're from a different country watching this podcast, which would be great. It's cool, watching us, talk about our problems. But hey, for the most part, you're Americans. You're watching this. This is for you guys.
Absolutely.
We want to open this up for you to have these uncomfortable conversations, because at the end of the day, this is what this podcast is all about.
Absolutely.
This is for us to show that people can come from different backgrounds, different situations, different colors, and still be civil and still be friends.
Absolutely.
Still be family.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, I would take a bullet for this man right here, as I hope he would take for me.
Absolutely.
Because regardless of how I might feel about a specific situation or circumstance, feel differently than you do. It's just how I feel.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to push that on you to make you feel that way.
Absolutely. And just as we wrap up, we just want to give our condolences for the family of the Black Panther Chadwick Boseman. He passed away from cancer. He was fighting that for a little while now.
A couple years now.
And
Wakanda forever.
And it's always a sad thing, but we just want to wish our condolences for that family and our prayers.
Cancer fucking sucks.
Yep.
I'll put it out there. Cancer fucking sucks, man. I lost my mother a year and a half ago to cancer. Part of the reason I was so kind of down yesterday, it really struck a nerve. I was listening to some music, and some of the songs that were coming on were like some of my mom's favorite songs, and it just kind of brought back some memories. And then I just started running down that rabbit trail, and I started feeling a real type of way. I was down last night, and I had to just force myself, go to sleep, get up. Today's a new day. But at the end of the day, I came to the ultimate conclusion that cancer fucking sucks, and that nobody deserves to go through that. I don't care what it is. Cancer fucking sucks.
Yeah, I agree. But if anybody's out there, you got family member fighting cancer, just know that you guys are in our prayers. That we wish you guys this the best of recovery.
Absolutely. So again, this is all in a day's work. We want to reach out to us. We want to put this out there for you guys. Our podcast is going to be posted on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Get them involved in this conversation, especially this conversation, this uncomfortable conversation that needs to happen.
Absolutely.
As American people. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Leave us some comments. Leave us some feedback. We've noticed that more people have leaned towards the Facebook page and the Facebook group, which is fine.
Yeah.
As opposed to the YouTube comments and things like that. So please hit us up on Facebook.
Yep.
Hit us up on YouTube. Hit us up on what else have we got?
We got the gram.
We got Instagram.
We got the gram.
I don't know nothing about no Instagram, but we got an Instagram. And we have we got the website.
Yeah.
allinthedays.com.
Yeah, that's
Go to
right.
allinthedays.com. Check it out. Get to know us. It's got a little bio about us on there, so
Yep,
check
yep.
it out. It has links, and we also post our YouTube videos there. So please, there's also links there if it wants to take you straight to YouTube. So definitely check that out. allinthedays.com.
And to that, America, we thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time.
Absolutely. Stay safe, America. We love you.
America.